What's up, y'all? It's your man, Dad Dude, bringing you guys another video. The Panthers might be the worst team in the NFL. Like, they have looked that bad so far this season, or at least offensively, they have looked that bad. I picked them to lose against the Vikings, so the fact that they lost is not the surprise here. It's how they lost. They held the Vikings, one of the league's best passing attacks, to under 200 yards passing. They held the Vikings offense to only 14 points. They picked off Kirk Cousins twice, one of them being a pick six, and yet they still found a way to lose this game because the Panthers offense is just that bad. The Panthers defense is actually pretty good. I think the evidence bears out that the Panthers defense pretty good, but the Panthers offense is just so bad that they cannot capitalize on the opportunities that the defense gives them, and it has played out time after time this season. The Panthers really might be the worst team in the NFL, which is especially horrible because they don't have their first round pick next year. Usually when the team is really bad, you have the silver lining of them having the first pick in the draft, or at least a high pick in the draft. The Panthers don't even have that. So them sucking this year does nothing for their team building in the future. I mean, maybe that you could say they'll have a higher pick in the lower rounds, but not having that first round pick is where a lot of your value is, maybe as a trade asset or just a player you want to get coming out of the draft, like a really good prospect. And the Panthers don't even have that to look forward to. They have also traded away some of their lower round picks, so they don't have that to look forward to. There's nothing to gain from them being this bad, and I don't see how bad they are turning around anytime soon, really, at least offensively. The Vikings are not a good team. The Vikings were 0-3 just like the Panthers. And even though this game was close, like 21-13 is a close score, but I think that is misleading about how this game actually played out. It always seemed, at least to me, that as soon as the Vikings got their act together, that they were going to win this game. Even when the Panthers were up 10-0, I still thought it just takes the Vikings playing a decent game, not even a great game or a good game, just a decent game for them, they're going to win this game. And that is what happened, because the Panthers offense right now is looking to be historically bad. Like, that bad. And it's not even all on Bryce Young. I don't think Bryce Young played well. Statistically, this has been his best game this season, but I think that's more of a sign of how bad his games have been this year, where statistically this was his best game. And this was not a good game for Bryce Young. He threw for over 200 yards for the first time, but he made a fair amount of mistakes, especially with ball security, holding on to the ball too long, taking untimely sacks. And I didn't really see him. He didn't make any throws that wowed me. And I'm not saying every throw has to be a, oh my gosh, look at that throw. But he has yet to make a play where I see star potential, or I see a reason as to why he was taken number 1 overall in the draft. Now, I'm not saying we should give up on Bryce Young. Yeah, I'm not calling him a bust. I'm just saying he has not shown what I think most fans thought he would show this early into his career. He was billed as the quarterback coming out of the draft who was most ready to start, who was most ready to contribute to a team right away. And of the two other quarterbacks who were taken high in the draft between Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud, he seems the least ready to contribute to a team. And you can say it's the talent around him, but nobody was talking about the talent in Houston going into the season. And outside of Pittman for the Colts, and Jonathan Taylor, who's not playing right now, nobody was talking about the talent for the Colts coming into this year. So I don't want to hear it's the talent that's holding Bryce Young back, because it's not like the talent on Houston or Indianapolis is great. I'm not saying it's going to be a bust. I still think that Bryce Young could be a really good quarterback in this league, but so far we have not seen it. And I thought this would be the game where we would see those flashes, because again, the Vikings defense is not good. They have a bad defense. I thought the Panthers would lose, but that their offense would be competitive, and their offense would move the ball and put up some points, and it would be a good showing for Bryce Young and the receivers. I thought the offensive line would still be shaky, but all around the offense would perform well, and they just did not. The offensive line looked horrible in this game. Bryce Young looked bad. The coaching, the way they called the plays just looked bad. Like, how many wide receiver screens are you going to throw that go for 2 or 3 yards before you stop throwing wide receiver screens? Like, why would you try the same thing over and over again and it does not work? Like, why would you keep running Miles Sanders into the back of the offensive line for 1 or 2 yards over and over again when you clearly see that it does not work. I am at the point now with Miles Sanders that I think the Panthers should really just phase him out of the offense. I think he has had ample opportunity to show that he should be the lead back, and he has not. Miles Sanders had 13 carries in this game for 19 yards. That is atrocious. And he has been that way for the past 3 weeks. Then the first game against Atlanta, he looked pretty decent. But after that, he has looked just bad. There's no other way to put it. It really does seem like he was more of a product of that great offensive line in Philly, more so than his individual talent. Chuba Hubbard has looked like the much better back. I think at this point, you phase Miles Sanders out of the offense. You give Chuba Hubbard the bulk of the carries, and whatever carries left over, give him to Laviska Shenault. But Miles Sanders should be like an emergency back, or maybe a third down back if you think he's the best back coming out of the backfield to catch passes. But even then, you would think Shenault will be better at that than him. They should really phase him out of the offense. I don't see what the Panthers gained at this point from continuing to give Miles Sanders carries. It just doesn't. It's not working. Besides that, again, the offensive line, Ike Mekwonu has been so disappointing this year. And in this game specifically, he gave up so many pressures, multiple sacks. The guy has really seemed to regress this year. And that is, I think, more worrisome than how Bryce Young has looked. I think Bryce Young, it was only his third start. While I have my concerns with Bryce Young, he wasn't the quarterback I wanted coming out of the draft. Only his third start. Got to give the guy time. All that. This is Ike's second year. And I know that it takes tackles longer to develop sometimes, but we should be seeing reasons as to why Ike was taken so high in the draft. And he played pretty good towards the tail end of last year, and I thought that would continue into this year. But he really seems to have regressed. Even his run blocking hasn't been as good this year. That is a major concern for the Panthers. They really need to make some changes, because the Panthers defense is going to keep them in a lot of games, I believe. But the Panthers offense just does not have the capability right now to close those games out. And it's really a shame, because the Panthers defense against the Vikings put up such a valiant effort. Down J.C. Horn, down Xavier Woods, down Dante Jackson, who missed the majority of this game. And they played very well. Sam Franklin comes in and fills in pretty well for Xavier Woods. He had that pick six. He scored the bulk of the Panthers' points. At number 29, his name is escaping me right now. The undrafted free agent for the Panthers came in, I think played really well for an undrafted free agent. Yeah, he gave up a touchdown to Justin Jefferson, but that's Justin freaking Jefferson. He's going to burn really good cornerbacks, let alone an undrafted free agent making his first start. I think that guy seems to have a lot of potential. He had that great block on Sam Franklin's pick six, because that might have been the slowest pick six I've ever seen in my life. I really do believe Kirk Cousins would have caught and tackled Sam Franklin if not for that block for number 29. So good on him for that. I think he made some really good plays. That hit he had on Justin Jefferson was the way he diagnosed that play and came in and just lit him up. That was a great play. I hope that guy gets a lot more playing time. Maybe he's a diamond in the rough for the Panthers, and he can develop into maybe a potential starting cornerback. That's a lofty expectation, but maybe. The defense played really well. But Yetur Gross-Matos, gotta also shout him out. I think he had a great game. But bringing up Yetur reminds me that where was Brian Burns in this game? Mr. $30 million man, supposedly. At least he believes he's a $30 million per year player. If that's the kind of player he is, you got to show up in these games. This was the kind of game where Brian Burns was supposed to show up, show out, and dominate. The guy had one tackle. And there was one play where I saw Brian Burns flash where he chased Kirk Cousins out of the pocket and Yetur cleaned up with a sack. But besides that, the guy was a no-show for the majority of the game. You can't have that from your star defensive player who wants a new contract. They needed Brian Burns to show up in this game, and he didn't for the most part. He was a non-factor for the vast majority of this game. So the Panthers are going to have to make some serious changes, especially when it comes to personnel on offense, at the running back position especially. It's time to phase out Miles Sanders. It's time to open up the offense for Bryce Young. Let him throw the ball down the field. If he gets picked off, whatever, because what you're doing right now obviously is not working. So let Bryce Young push the ball down the field, sink or swim. If the offense doesn't perform well, at least you're giving Bryce Young valuable experience of playing in the NFL game in a way that is actually conducive to scoring points and moving the ball. They don't push the ball down the field, and that might open up things for the running game and open up things for your underneath routes. If it doesn't work out, okay, maybe try something else. But what you're doing right now also isn't working. So it is time for changes for the Panthers, or they really might not win a game this year. Like, I think that's like a hyperbole. I think right now them winning 4 games seems like a stretch, but they do right now seem like the worst team in the NFL. It's time for some changes. That's all I have for you in this one, guys. If you enjoyed this video, go hit that thumbs up. If you're so inclined, subscribe and leave a comment. I respond to almost everything, and I'll see you guys in the next one.